Good morning. It's a go. The UN's most powerful body adds the issue of North Korea's human rights to its official agenda. Pushing through with reform measures to steer clear of a low-growth trap. Arirang News Hwang Ji-hye joins us for more. And it is time for the year-end parties and those hangovers. The fun ends when you wake up the next morning, but what is this doing to your liver? Mobile applications are flooding the industry, brilliant ideas offering convenience and practicality, the best of the 2014 App Awards on Korea Today, Tuesday, December 23rd, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And good morning. Thank you for joining us on Korea Today. I'm Kim Myung alongside Kim Min-jung and Jin-ju.
Good morning. Looking back on this year, there were some mega hit homegrown films in Korea's box office like Myeongyang the Roaring Currents and Haejak the Pirates. And Korean films have been doing really well, and Korean films have attracted more than 100 million moviegoers this year for the third consecutive year.
That's right. It is pretty impressive. Now, one of the must-see movies these days is, though, My Love, Don't Cross the River. It's about a Korean couple who's been married for over 70 years. It's very touching and moving, apparently. And everyone I've talked to who's seen this movie said they cried their eyes out. And I went on to and saw the trailer. I cried my eyes out as well. It's very sad. We don't want to give it away, but do check it out if you have the time to.
Well, if the trailer is enough to make you cry, Min-jung, then I think the whole movie, you could imagine a sea of tears in the theater, right? All right,
well,
check that film out when you do get a chance
Let's
to.
now get a check on the stories making headlines this morning. Earlier this morning at around 5:20 a.m. Korea Standard Time, the United Nations Security Council voted to add the issue of North Korean human rights to its official agenda. The UN's most powerful body convened a meeting at the New York headquarters where 11 countries voted yes, 2 opposed, and 2 abstained. Sources say China and Russia, staunch allies of Pyongyang, voted nay. This comes after the General Assembly adopted a resolution that aims to bring North Korea and its leader in front of the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity. Now that the issue has been placed on the official agenda, 15 members of the Security Council have 3 years to deliberate on the issue.
The Korean government is moving forward with measures to reduce possible impact from the collapsing ruble on domestic enterprises. First Vice Minister of the Trade Ministry, Lee Kwan-sup, said at a press briefing that support measures for companies registered with the Korea Trade Investment Promotion Agency and the Korea Trade Insurance Corporation are available. The trade agency will closely monitor the Russian economy and provide related information to local firms, while the insurance corporation will allow Korean businesses to continue transactions with Russian companies for a period of time in the face of financial difficulties. The Russian ruble has plunged in value to its lowest in history due to the falling international oil prices and sanctions from Western countries.
The Korean government has conducted an emergency inspection on major local telecommunications companies to analyze the country's readiness against possible cyber terror attacks. Seoul's Ministry of Science, ICT, and Future Planning said Monday 4 major telecom companies, including SKT, KT, and LG U+, were asked to report on any recent cyber threats and their information protection measures. The security checkup comes amid the ongoing controversy surrounding a hacking attack on Sony Pictures that is suspected to have been carried out by North Korea and the recent information leakage in the south of sensitive documents from Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power. The government has asked the telecom companies to beef up their monitoring system and to strengthen their precautionary measures.
Structural reform in the nation's 4 major sectors, namely the labor, public, educational, and financial sectors, is a key focus of the Korean government's economic plan for next year. Now, this officials say is to strengthen the basic fundamentals of the domestic economy and to prevent the country from falling into a low growth trap. To tell us more about the government's to-do list for the year 2015, we're now joined by Arirang News' Hwang Ji-hye here in the studio. Good morning, Ji-hye.
Good morning, Jinju.
So, Ji-hye, let's start with the government's growth forecast for this year and the next. They cut their growth targets.
Right, and Korea has lowered its 2014 growth projection for this year by 0.3 percentage points to 3.4%, that of next year to 3.8%, down by 0.2 percentage points. And as it downgraded its growth outlook on Monday, the government cited still sluggish domestic demand despite the aggressive stimulus measures it laid out this year. And as you said, to pull the economy out of its low growth rut, it unveiled the economy management plan for next year that puts emphasis on longer-term structural reforms while maintaining its expansionary policy. Take a look.
Structural changes will focus on the labor, education, financial, and public sectors so that human resources and money, which are an economy's key elements, can be distributed efficiently.
The government will seek ways to raise the female labor participation and better utilize the foreign workforce, while educational reform will place emphasis on enhancing vocational training. It plans to promote apprenticeship programs where students in college or in vocational schools can receive training directly from related companies. The government will cut red tape in the financial sector and promote the use of IT at banks and other financial institutions to foster the so-called fintech. In the public sector, the top priority will be on reforming the pension program for civil servants. But experts say getting the economy back on track for a solid recovery may require more than what the government unveiled.
I would have preferred perhaps a stronger welfare policy so that people who are affected by these changes can weather their problems more smoothly. And I think that will help to boost consumption, which is actually a key to this whole problem.
Under the government plan, policymakers will also tackle pressing risks head-on. One major task is diffusing threats posed by snowballing household debt.
The government will use a state housing fund to switch roughly $35 billion of short-term loans, carrying floating rates into longer-term fixed-rate loans.
For the corporate sector, it will introduce new measures to speed up the debt restructuring process. The move will allow troubled companies to begin workout programs before their financial health becomes irreparable. While the government also plans to strengthen its ability to cope with large-scale capital outflows, Andrew Kohun at Fitch Ratings says Asia's fourth largest economy is now differentiating itself from other emerging countries.
Thinking about financial market behavior, investors have tended to treat Korea as more of a safe haven rather than as a high-risk candidate. When markets are risk-off, shall we say, capital has a tendency to flow back into Korea and the exchange rate can strengthen.
Through the structural changes, the government aims to lay the groundwork for sustainable economic growth, hopefully making 2015 a turning point for regaining economic vitality.
So next year, the government's focus will be a little bit different. It will focus more on structural reforms rather than injecting money into the economy to boost growth. So what do experts say about this shift in focus?
Well, in general, experts agree on the policy direction that focuses on structural reforms rather than short-term measures to boost the recovery momentum. But some pundits are skeptical that the plan lacks further stimulus packages, especially when there's relatively little concern of inflation. They say the government should work hand in hand with the Bank of Korea for more aggressive stimulus measures to meet its growth forecast of 3.8% for next year. And this is also why market expectations are growing over another rate cut early next year, especially in the first quarter next year, despite the 2 rate cuts already made in the second half of this year.
I guess experts generally agree with this policy direction because of the mounting national debt that is being caused with the expansionary policy.
Right.
And onto the growth forecast, the government has cut its outlook, but it's still above the average projection put forth by local institutions or global investment banks. Is the government being too hopeful?
Well, experts did point out that the outlook is rather optimistic, especially when next year's economic conditions abroad are not so good due to risks coming from the Eurozone and China. And as you can see in that chart, it's like a 0.4 percentage points lower than the government's growth outlook. The concern here is that tax revenues falling short of the government's optimistic expectations. According to a report published by the National Assembly Budget Office, this year's tax revenue shortfall is expected to exceed 10 trillion won. That is roughly 95 billion US dollars. So another possible tax revenue shortage next year would result in the further worsening of Korea's fiscal deficit.
I believe that's why some experts point out that the government should be a little bit more conservative when setting the growth forecast.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you, Jia, for that report this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning. It's time to run through the front pages of your newspapers. Now, as you just heard, the government plans to put stronger emphasis on structural reforms next year for improving the country's economic fundamentals. All of the domestic papers today are highlighting the Finance Ministry's 2015 economic directives that were announced yesterday. So let's take a look at what some of those are in more detail. First up on 중앙일보. And this headline reads, irregular workers over age 35 can retain the same job for up to 4 years. We're going to take a look at the image above first. Finance Minister Choi Kyung-hwan here in the middle said in a meeting of ministers and vice ministers that structural reforms would take precedence in 2015 with emphasis on changing the labor market. Choi recently said regular workers are being overprotected, causing companies to shun recruitment and instead rely on irregular workers that can be fired more easily. And if we take a look at a couple of these bullet points here, a few new measures are being pursued in light of protecting irregular workers, including providing severance pay to irregular workers even after working for just 3 months, as well as providing them with extra funds when changing jobs because they were unable to become regular workers. Now, Choi stressed that the labor market reform will not be focused on making it easier to let go of employees, but making it less complicated for companies to adjust wages and working schedules. Now, over on 조선일보, this is another factor that was added on yesterday. This one's titled Private School Teachers and Military Pensions to be reformed next year. So the government added that it will come up with blueprints to reform the military and private school teachers' pensions, as well as fundamentally re-examine how state spending is carried out. Now, these changes are to be implemented in the 2016 budget. If we take a look at the top sub-headline here, it also says the ministry is considering having the school year start in September and getting rid of spring breaks. This, it said, can better meet the exchange of students across borders, since Korea, Japan, and Australia are the only countries that begin the new school year in the spring. Now, this can also allow for a longer summer vacation, allowing students to gain more work-related experience during that time period. Meantime, over on 동아일보, these are some words coming from the president regarding yesterday's announcements, and the article is called Reform of Labor Market is a task that can no longer be delayed. That is what the president said. If we take a look at the sub-headlines, this is what the president said in a meeting with officials and advisors handling economic affairs at the president's office yesterday. Following the finance ministry's announcement, she asked labor and management to make concessions and ongoing discussions with the government on reforming the labor market, but did also acknowledge the difficulties in resolving the explosive issue. Now, she emphasized that reform of the labor market is an urgent and important task that cannot be delayed anymore, because unless they are able to overcome this barrier, it will be difficult to achieve sustainable economic growth. Now finally on to the Mail Business newspaper, the same issue, except this one's more on the corporate front. It says government to support restructuring process of new businesses. So the government is seeking to drastically streamline procedures involving mergers and acquisitions or business overhauls with an aim of bolstering corporate competitiveness. A special act on this will be legislated during the next year, which will encompass content from the Commercial Act and the Fair Trade Act that are linked to corporate restructuring, as well as relevant tax systems and financial assistance as well. And also look at our local headlines for this Tuesday, and following are the stock numbers from Monday.
So yesterday was Tongji, and so the days must become a little longer and nights a little shorter. Did you end up having a bowl of red bean
No,
porridge?
I actually didn't. I couldn't really tell the difference between whether the nights actually got longer or
There's
shorter or
tiny
not yet, right?
differences.
But I did realize that it was still cold. We did have some snow yesterday. So what are the temperatures going to be like today? Well, we'll go to Chun Song-cho, who joins us from the Yangjaechun stream.
Good morning to you, Song-cho.
Good morning to you. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who's sick of this cold weather. Well, temperatures are warming up ever so slightly. Cold wave advisories that have been in effect in the upper Gangwon province and some inland areas will be lifted this morning as mercury levels will gradually rise above freezing. However, the morning conditions are still frigid cold at -8 degrees Celsius right now here, so do bundle up on your way out this morning. Starting in the afternoon, a frontal boundary behind a high-pressure system south to Jeju-do Island will slowly come into effect and bring in more clouds. These clouds will act sort of like a blanket retaining heat underneath, with warm westerly winds blowing as well, and make tomorrow, Christmas Eve, a bit warmer than the annual average. In the meantime, the atmosphere remains extremely dry in the areas all along the east coast and some interior sections of Gyeongsangbuk-do province. So if you're in those regions, please be careful not to spark up any accidental fires. Dry weather warnings and advisories have been issued in those regions. And with that, let's take a closer look at today's temperature readings around the nation. Midday highs are well above freezing, as you can see. They range from 5 to 10 all around the nation, with Seoul and Daejeon being the coldest and Jeju being the warmest. Clear conditions are in store for Christmas Day, so get excited, guys. This is all for me with the weather forecast. Back to you, Min-jung.
Amid the ongoing tensions between Russia and the West, Russian President Vladimir Putin has invited U.S. President Barack Obama to the 70th anniversary celebrations for the victory over Nazi Germany, which will take place in Moscow in May of next year. We'll turn to our Mina for more on this. Good morning to you, Mina.
Good morning to you, Min-jung.
It looks like the list of the invitees includes now Presidents Park Geun-hye, Obama, and of course the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. What do we make of all this?
That's right, Min-jung. And there's much reason that this is garnering a lot of attention from analysts worldwide as fallout continues to escalate over that Sony Pictures cyber attacks that the U.S. blames on the North. In the latest developments, North Korea has now threatened unspecified attacks on the U.S., specifically mentioning the White House, Pentagon, and, quote, the U.S. Whole mainland. Regardless, speaking to reporters on Monday, Russian presidential aide Yuri Ushakov said President Obama was invited to attend the 70th anniversary of the Soviet Union's victory over Nazi Germany that's scheduled for May 9th, 2015. Ushakov added that Pyongyang indicated the North Korean leader also plans to come to Moscow and attend celebrations. Russian media, meanwhile, have reported that based on the aide's remarks, there is a possibility that the leaders of the U.S. and North Korea can meet at the event. And over in China, an investigation has been launched into former President Hu Jintao's most senior aide. According to the country's state-run Xinhua news agency, Ling Jihua is accused of unspecified disciplinary violations, which usually refers to corruption. The announcement comes 2 years after Ling fell out of political favor when reports surfaced that his son had died crashing his Ferrari sports car in Beijing. The graft probe, meanwhile, is seen as a sign that current President Xi Jinping is removing his predecessor's influences and feels secure in his position. Since Xi took over from Hu Jintao as China's president in late 2012, a wide-ranging crackdown has been introduced, which has come to threaten even the ruling Communist Party's very survival. Analysts say the case against Ling also further highlights that no one, no matter how senior, can run from China's anti-corruption campaign.
All right, well, meanwhile, over at the Vatican, we heard that Pope Francis, he criticized the leaders of the Vatican, warning them of spiritual Alzheimer's, apparently referring to a lust for power. What more did he have to say?
That's right. He did have quite a lot to say. This is in his annual pre-Christmas address to Vatican leaders on Monday, and he was certainly not afraid to hold back. He launched a tough rebuke on the illnesses within its members, suggesting some power-hungry clerics were guilty of what he called cold-bloodedly killing the reputation of their own colleagues and brothers. He specifically mentioned 15 ailments he's seen among leadership there, which he said he wanted cured in the new year. Some of his harshest words, meanwhile, were reserved to sins related to gossiping, including himself among the sinners. The pontiff reiterated his idea of a church at the service of the poor and the peripheries, a religious institution free of scandals, infighting, and lavish behaviors.
All right, we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you, Mina, for that.
Thank you for having me.
Well, stay with us on Korea today, especially if you're having a bad hangover. I'm sure as we inch towards the end of the year, there are many year-end parties lined up for you with endless rounds of drinking. Well, this may lead not only to nasty hangovers, but a lot of strain on your liver. So how do you protect your liver and keep it in better shape? We'll have the answers for you, so don't go away.
That's right, your liver does need a break and could sure use one. Now, the wonders of nature has served as inspiration for artists throughout the centuries and throughout the centennial time of art. And joining us is Im Yoon-hee with a couple of exhibitions that really serves as a gateway for people to see artists who were inspired by nature. Good morning.
Good morning, that's right. So Christmas, it's just a couple of days away now already. So a lot of family members, of course, are pouring in. So today I have a couple of exhibitions that you can check out with them. So from painters from the 19th century to those who are still at it today, these artists aim to recreate the great outdoors. Have a look.
Nature. It's a source of inspiration for many. But the Normandy coast in France has been a particular favorite for some of history's most acclaimed artists. From the Impressionist paintings of Claude Monet to the realist works of Gustave Courbet, the shores of Normandy have been at the center of many timeless masterpieces. The gallery gives a look into the role of Normandy and the development of modern landscape painting. It may look like a snapshot of a serene landscape, but take a closer look, and you'll see the layers of paint that artist Yi Kwang-ho has meticulously woven together. Instead of the beach, Yi looks to mountainous landscapes, colored with trees, for his artistic inspiration.
The natural forest landscape I think of is very primitive, like Jeju Island's cherished landscape, so I drew the forest like that.
Another artist who values the beauty of nature. Ryu Ho-yeol finds inspiration in the movements of nature, but instead of working with paint, he's turned to media and technology to create these living works of art. And that's exactly what they look like. Each screen bursts to life in an eerie yet mesmerizing way.
An imaginary world is possible, and in this world, parts can also be excluded. There's a division between reality and the imaginary, so I chose the color white.
There's something soothing about the rustling of leaves, whether they be real or the result of some figment of an artist's imagination.
Wow, that last exhibition, this is quite mesmerizing.
Right.
Using white and also using all the advancements in technology to produce that art. A bit of video art, installation art, all captivated in one, or actually all captured into one.
Right, and that sort of awe-inspiring reaction has been seen by many. So in fact, they decided to extend this exhibition. And so originally planned on ending around the 16th, but I kept calling back and they said they kept pushing back the date. So I wouldn't be surprised if they've pushed it back even further. But for now, until the 28th, you can check it out.
Does he have any screensavers that I could download?
Right, absolutely beautiful, beautiful
It
work.
is very nice, right? Now let's go back to the first exhibition. Now this one is a collection of arts or pieces from different artists.
Right, so it's a work of a collection of artists from over 6 different artists. Now, this exhibition is also interesting because while artists can look to an individual as a muse, they look to Mother Nature this time. And so some of these works, you can really just breathtaking, beautiful works, but you have to remember that they're paintings with them. Our landscape painters, these artists were huge influences. And so the fact that Normandy was a huge influence on these artists, it actually trickles down and influenced quite a few artists to this day. And so this collection was curated by the chief director of the Musée Malraux of France. And that's a really important museum because they have one of the most important collections of impressionist works to this day. So that's another important collection to check out while it's here in Seoul.
That sounds fabulous. A lot of people look to the big city for some kind of inspiration, and everyone wants to make it out in the big city, right? But lo and behold, you have the most beautiful aspects of Earth or Mother Nature here right in front of you.
Right around the corner.
All right, thank you very much for joining us.
It's always a pleasure.
All right, stay with us on Korea Today because we're going to be looking at some applications, mobile applications. Who doesn't use them in this day and age, right? And there is a Best Application 2014 competition, the 2014 Application Awards. In each year, there are tons of mobile apps flooding the market with crazy and brilliant ideas. Some of them are practical, some of them are convenient, and most of them are full sheer of joy. We look at the team of the best with Alex Sigrist, who brings us the 2014 Application Awards.
Now, one of the top stories trending online right now is about a young man in his 20s who's been making donations to charity under his friend's name.
The young man wanted to honor his friend who had died 3 years ago. For more on this story, our Seo Mi-sarang joins us here in the studio. Good morning, Mi-sarang.
Good morning, guys. Very touching story. So this is a photo that was released by the charity organization yesterday. A letter and around $1,000 in cash. Parts of the letter reads, I would like to donate in my friend Hwang Seung-won's name. I'm sorry that this is not a large amount of money. Even though it's not a lot, I hope that this can go towards helping children in need. Now, this is not the first time that this young man has made a donation in his friend's name. He did exactly the same thing last year, and this is the photo that was released back then. I would like to donate in my friend's name, Hwang Seung-won. He died in an accident while he was working to save up his college tuition. My friend was a great person, and I don't want the world to forget him.
Mr. Hwang must be really happy looking at his friend from up above.
From heaven. What a great friendship.
What a great friendship. And we can all learn from this guy, helping others through the memory of his friend. Now, also trending online, a debate about whether private universities should open its libraries to the public. Now, the discussion arose after 2 universities in Seoul decided to open up their libraries to the local residents despite strong opposition from students. So on one side of the argument, the library is already crowded with just the students. Students are paying for the library with expensive college tuition. It's not fair to give local residents free access. But other people had thought differently. Sharing with the public will lead to more opportunities for learning and growth of the community as a whole. And it's a waste for great books to collect dust on the shelves. They should be read by as many people as possible. And next, as the year draws to a close, avid fans of stars, athletes, and public figures are creating 2015 calendars. And of those, a Kim Yeona calendar is gaining widespread attention. Now, this calendar is created by a Kim Yeona fan club in China, and the images are designed to be used as wallpaper on your computer. Now, if you have a look at carefully, each month the images are very season appropriate. For example, here they chose fresh colors for the summer. And according to the creators, a set of dozen images have been selected to showcase Kim Yeon-a's diverse looks.
I read somewhere that paper calendars are really dying out because of people being on the mobiles all the time. But I guess with Kim Yeon-a, it's a different story.
Right. She does have an official paper calendar out as well, so, and probably a million other fan-created online versions.
So we can buy it, this calendar?
This one, you can download it, but unfortunately for non-Chinese fans, this is created by Chinese fans for other Chinese fans, so they have the Chinese public holidays in the calendar. But I'm sure
I don't mind getting those Chinese holidays off either.
But I'm sure fans of different countries they'll Photoshop their own versions. So no worries there. Now wrapping up, do you guys remember little Sai Chong-min? So he finally got to meet his idol. So after learning about little Sai Chong-min and how he's been battling terminal brain tumor for the past 4 months, Sai invited the 10-year-old to his concert on Sunday. The two met backstage before the show started, and according to Chong Min-woo's parents, Sai hugged Chong Min-woo and gave him words of encouragement for his treatment and promised that they will perform together once he gets better.
I hope Min-woo gets well soon.
Definitely.
To perform together.
All the best wishes.
All right, thank you, Isorang.
You're welcome.
Hey, good Tuesday morning to you all as we kick things off with the Korean national football team as manager Uli Stilike announced his roster for the upcoming Asian Cup on Monday. Well, not much of a surprise if you take a look at the roster until you see Lee Jung-hyuk listed in the roster as the virtually unknown player from Sangju Sangmu, the military squad, was chosen ahead of Park Ju-young, who has played in 3 World Cups. Now, Lee, who scored in the inter-squad friendly on Sunday, has never played on the national team and was surprised himself when he was listed on the roster, as fans are calling him Stilike's Cinderella. Meanwhile, despite both Kim Sung-gyu and Chung Sung-young being listed in the goalkeeper slot, Kim is expected to be the starting goalkeeper thanks to his success in the Asian Games. And now moving over to figure skating this time, where Ice Network, a US-based figure skating website, named Kim Yeon-a's short program the best short program of 2014. Now, in an article reviewing the 2014 year in figure skating, Kim Yeon-a's short program performance to Send in the Clowns was named as the best performance in a short program as they praised her movements and her acting. Meanwhile, in the same article, they listed Alina Solnikova's gold medal win at the Sochi Winter Games the biggest upset of the year, comparing it to the 2002 Winter Games when Sarah Hughes beat out the heavily favored Michelle Kwan. And now shifting over to baseball, where the mystery to who made the highest bid on Nexen hero slugger Kang Jong-ho was finally revealed earlier this morning, as it was reported that the Pittsburgh Pirates were the highest bidders. Despite rumors of the Philadelphia Phillies being a possible team who placed the highest bid, it's finally been revealed that another National League team placed the $5,2015 bid, as the NL Central's Pittsburgh Pirates were that team. Now, with the two sides looking to sign a deal, Kang Jong-ho might get his chance to play shortstop, as Jordy Mercer is the current shortstop in the team's depth chart at the moment. And now finishing things off with staying in baseball, spring training is still months away in the major leagues, but Lee Hyun-jin and the LA Dodgers are the early favorites to win the 2015 World Series. This, of course, according to several betting sites in the U.S., including the Vegas, where the LA Dodgers were listed at 8-1 or 13-2 odds of winning next season's World Series. This comes after the Dodgers made a number of trades and signings this offseason, as the Boston Red Sox and the LA Angels were the consensus #2 favorites to win the next World Series. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
With only one page left on the calendar, it's a time when a lot of year-end parties take place, be it at work or with friends and family. And with more drinking added to the routine, it's also a time when the liver can be under a lot of distress. The liver is the largest internal organ in the body, and it not only processes and stores nutrients, it also detoxifies chemicals and removes microorganisms. So it's considered a chemical factory in the body. If the liver is in bad shape, its ability to detoxify decreases, which leads to an accumulation of toxins, a drop in the immune system, and a continual sense of fatigue.
My stomach burns and I get headaches.
Even if I drink just a little, things are rough the next day, so I try not to. But it's not that easy.
Today, we'll look at how to keep the liver in good shape during the holiday season and what foods can help protect the liver.
Okay, around this time each year, an eerie scent fills the studio, and that is the scent of my liver decaying before your eyes from all the alcohol consumption from all the year-end parties.
Right, we know all too well about the nasty hangovers, right? And it can really place a lot of burden on your liver as well. And let's learn a little bit more about excessive drinking and how it affects your liver with a doctor joining us. Of course, Dr. Alex Sigrist from Samsung Medical Center. Good morning, long time no see.
Good morning. Good morning. Doctor, it looks like none of these year-end parties have hindered you just one bit. Now, the liver is one of the most important organs. We do talk about how alcohol does affect your liver in many different ways. I mean, let's get a little bit more specific.
Right. So as you just said, Young, the liver is a very important but also resilient organ. What happens when you drink is that the liver filters and then breaks down the alcohol into byproducts. One of the byproducts is called acetaldehyde, and it is a very potent toxin to the liver. It causes damage to the liver cells. Initially, the damage is reversible, so you can have inflammation or abnormal fat deposits. Later on, however, if you overwhelm the resilience of the liver to recover, then you can get permanent damage in the form of fibrosis and even liver cancer.
Use it, don't abuse it, right?
Right.
Exactly.
So many people say drink with moderation, just up to the point where you can control yourself. But just how much is it okay for your liver?
Right. So every country has a different guideline. Here in Korea, the Korean Foundation for Health Promotion recommends a limit of 40 grams of alcohol for men and 20 grams of alcohol for women. And this is based on the premise that you're drinking once per week. This translates to 3 glasses of wine or 5 shots of soju for men, or 1 glass of wine or 2.5 shots of soju for women. Of course, this is a maximum limit, so you don't have to drink this much.
A week or a day? A week, right?
A week.
A week.
A week.
Once a week.
Right, once a week, based on the premise that you're drinking just once. Yes.
All right, well...
raises some questions.
I think I clearly abuse that on a day.
I think that's my lower limit.
Okay, so there is that year-end thing that goes on here in Korea as well as around the world. But how do you minimize the burden that you're going to give to your liver? We'll take a look at this next report.
I have to drink soju with water so it's watered down a little bit and makes things a lot more comfortable the next day.
If I mix the alcohol with carbonated water, it's a lot smoother and doesn't taste so bad, so I drink it like this a lot.
Do these methods really reduce the impact on the liver? Among 3 men with similar bodies and alcohol tolerance levels, we had one drink 4 straight shots of soju, another had soju with carbonated water, and the last person had soju with regular water. After 30 minutes, we took a blood sample and did a liver function test. As a result, the person who drank water with soju showed the best results.
If you drink alcohol with water, it becomes more diluted, so the speed of absorption slows down. That means you don't get as drunk. But if you drink it with carbonated drinks, the carbonation stimulates the mucous membrane of the stomach, speeding up intoxication.
After a night out, if you drink again before fully recovering, it greatly raises the risks of liver diseases such as alcoholic hepatitis, fatty liver disease, and cirrhosis. According to big data analysis, the most popular hangover dishes in Korea are dishes including broth such as haejangguk, along with noodles, beverages, and fruit. But do these methods actually help cure hangovers? We had test subjects first drink 4 shots of soju and then measure their blood alcohol levels. Following this, we measured the numbers again after having them eat bean sprout hajangguk, black bean noodles, and honey tea. The results showed that black bean noodles and honey tea brought down the blood alcohol levels, while surprisingly, the bean sprout hajangguk pushed the numbers up. What do these numbers mean? We get a closer look in the studio.
Okay, so the black bean noodles and the honey tea definitely helped, right?
Oh, I think I saw it like that, but I might have missed it.
Well, according to the research, the report, it did help. And the bean sprout soup, not so well, but it's been well known that bean sprout soup is supposed to help you while you're drinking and after you drink.
Well, I think what we just saw was more of an entertaining experiment rather than a strictly scientific study. I don't think we're really able to make any strong inferences on the influence of any particular food. What this study shows is that there are different rates of metabolism for individuals. And so it depends on the person's weight, age, sex, what kind of food they've had before they drink, if the person's on any medications, and the person's individual rate of metabolizing alcohol. This was really just an observation on 3 individual patterns of drinking. As a rule, however, you should always try to drink after having food. Don't ever drink on an empty stomach. Having a protein-rich food before you drink will actually spread out the absorption of alcohol over 1 to 6 hours and will decrease your peak alcohol concentration in the blood.
Maybe a cup of milk would help?
Hanu.
Well, just don't drink on an empty stomach.
Okay,
yeah, just remember
well,
that.
I've seen some people go for greasy food like pizza or hamburger, like this young lady over here. Does that help? And tomato juice, apparently, for some people.
Well, that can help for a hangover. I mean, the best cure for a hangover is to stay well hydrated. So if you're having salty food, such as pizza or hamburger, you're naturally going to be drinking more water afterwards. Tomato juice is a great, nutritious fluid to take in, and that will counter any effects of dehydration that may have occurred because of the drinking.
So what do you think, Jinju?
I just thought eating something greasy would help you with your hangover, but I think that's not the case.
So pizza and soju, is that the order for
Perfect
tonight?
combination for me. And Dr. Dan, are there any other tips that we can use to reduce the burden on our liver when we're out drinking?
I would remember 3 things: track, space, and pace. First is track. So there are smartphone applications that you can download that will help track how much alcohol you take in. It's hard to keep track, right, when you're drinking. But these smartphone applications will help keep you under the maximum limit. You want to space out your drinking. Make sure that you have 2 days of recovery time before you drink again after a night of heavy drinking. And then pace your drinking. You don't want to have multiple shots in quick succession. Try to pace your drinking at a more leisurely rate. Remember, it takes about an hour for your body to metabolize 1 unit of alcohol. And so if you're drinking lots of alcohol in quick succession, your body is going to get overwhelmed.
Well, you're going to look like a dork if you put in if you open your application.
Wait a minute. I have to record how many drinks I had. Some people say,
losing your friend.
Yeah, some people say that, the only way you've actually had fun is when you can't remember how many drinks you've had.
There you go.
All right, some advices that we can use. And we're now going to take a look at some foods that we can eat on a regular basis to help our liver be in good shape. So take a look.
Substances that are acknowledged by the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety for improving the functions of the liver include extracts from the fruit of oriental raisin trees and milk thistles. Milk thistles have white patterns on the leaves, and when the stem is broken, a white sac flows out, giving it the simple nickname milk. A substance called sibillinin that's in the milk thistles is shown to have effects in deterring the growth of liver cancer cells. It is also known to deter the proliferation of cancer cells and block the cell cycle, proving to be effective against liver cancer. For a long time, oriental raisin tree fruit have been used to treat liver diseases such as fatty liver and cirrhosis. This is why a lot of drinks made from the tree are out on the market.
There are substances called ampelocin and hovatins in oriental raisin trees, and these help deal with hangovers or protect the liver. The important thing is other substances can be toxic for the liver, so trying to boil and use it at home can be dangerous.
The main ingredient of curry, known as ulgum or turmeric, is also said to be good for the liver. In the old medical journal 동의보감, ulgum is cited as being part of the ganghwang root and an aid in detoxifying the liver and assisting in bile excretion.
According to a clinical trial in Korea in 2007, when medicinal herbs, including ulgum, were prescribed to a patient, it lowered the hepatic enzyme levels, indicating that ulgum aids in recovering the function of the liver.
Cockles include a lot of taurine and betaine, helping the regeneration of liver cells. Black coffee is also said to be good for the liver. Those who drink black coffee are said to have less hepatic enzymes than those who don't at all, according to a study. The liver is a silent organ that needs to be well protected through our basic daily habits. A good amount of rest along with good food and nutrients is a simple way to begin protecting your liver.
I didn't know that black coffee would be good for your liver. So how much do you have to drink to see these expected effects of black coffee?
Well, there have been a lot of observational studies looking at the association between coffee intake and liver health. The latest study that was presented in this segment was from a study published in the journal Hepatology. And in that study, it showed that people who are drinking 3 or more cups of either caffeinated or decaffeinated coffee had lower liver enzymes. But I don't want to give people the idea that if they drink 3 cups of coffee while they're drinking alcohol, that that's going to be good for their health. If you drink caffeine with alcohol, that can lead to greater chances of dehydration, greater chances of developing heart arrhythmia, and actually a higher chance of getting drunk because you're stimulating your body while you're taking the alcohol.
Did you hear that, Young? Because Young over here always manages to get
I'm a huge fan of
coffee after
ice Americano
drinking.
and soju. They just mix so well together.
It's beyond the belief why he does that. But it's hard to tell whether something's wrong with your liver. It's one of those organs that really doesn't have one of those classic symptoms. What are some of the key indicators that people can look out for?
Well, there are 2 medical aspects of problems that can be associated with alcohol. One is alcohol dependence, and the other is like liver dysfunction. So a short questionnaire you can use to check for alcohol dependence is called the CAGE or CAGE questionnaire. You can ask, have you ever felt the need to cut down on your drinking? Have you ever felt annoyed when someone criticized your drinking? Have you ever felt guilty about your drinking? Have you ever required an eye opener or an alcoholic beverage the first thing in the morning? If you answer yes to 2 or more of these questions, that may indicate alcohol dependence. The other medical aspect is what you just asked about, liver failure, or liver disease. And signs to look out for would be fatigue, loss of appetite. Also, you can get yellow tinting of the eyes or skin, easy bruisability, pain or swelling of the abdomen, and swelling of the legs as well. Of course, if you have any concerns, you should consult with your doctor.
All right, so that's the answer there. And of course, the end of the year, keep the drinking to a moderation and give your liver a break, right?
Exactly. The focus of the festivities should be on having fun, enjoying the food, and the company of your friends.
And remembering that.
Right, exactly. The point is not to get drunk. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Doctor.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
The 2014 Smart App Award. We're going to hear all about it from Alex Sigrist joining us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Alex.
Good morning. Thank you guys for having me. So yeah, this year they had the 5th Smart App Awards again. It was hosted by the Korea International Professional Association and sponsored by the Ministry of Science, ICT, and Future Planning. Now, there's 2,000 industry experts came in and judged it based on creativity, based on design, and various other things. And it's actually really interesting what came out. 2013, we had the Kia Motion, which was an application that allowed you to make a simple video just using pictures and music. And before that, I thought an interesting one was CJ the Kitchen, which pretty much allowed you to put a whole cookbook into your phone.
That is awesome.
That was awesome. So this year, let's go ahead and see what's in store for us with the video. A total of 46 mobile apps that were developed or updated in 2014 were handpicked from the 221 competing in this year's awards. The grand prize went to an app called Galaxy Tab S Experience. It allows people to check out the functions of the Samsung Tab S and received high points for creating a realistic experience for its users. There's Samsung Card M Pocket, which won first prize in the category of design. It's an integrated payment app that allows users to see payment options as well as discount benefits all in one screen. The User Interface Award went to ING Life Korea's Mobile Center app, offering a simple overview of insurance plans and the processing of payouts. The Marketing Innovation Award went to Hyundai Department Store for its app that carries registration cards for classes at its culture center, free parking coupons, vouchers, and product guides. FaceCon is a picture app that won the Service Award for its emoticon creating product. With simple filters, it puts out a lot of different caricatures. Daedae Museum's Lifestyle app took away the award for Contents Innovation. It allows visitors to tour the museum on their mobile devices for an in-depth second-hand experience. There were many other apps that took home awards, but some of them stood out more than others. KB Gukminbank won first prize in the banking sector for its app that allows users to check their accounts immediately on their home screen. And it focuses not only on convenience, but prevention of any digital banking scams. SaveCon was an award in the communication sector that allows people to contribute in charity funds each time they send a message through the application. There's also Picket in the category of daily tips and information. Utilizing the user's current location, the app picks out good restaurants and hot places to visit in the vicinity. For mobile games, My Laba went home with first prize in its category for creating games that are both fun and educational, using one of Korea's most loved characters, Laba.
All right, lots of interesting applications. Makes things so convenient, right?
Yeah.
Everything's at the tip of your fingers these days. Tell us a little bit about the lineup.
Well, to put it briefly, there's a lot of things with hybrid applications. It took a lot of functions, put them all into one, made the consumer experience a lot easier. And there's also improvements in banking security. So a lot of these one-touch applications are becoming more efficient. There's less errors on those.
And I really like the FaceCon app where you can put your own pictures in an emoticon.
Well, of course, we have that. So as we can see right here,
Oh,
we have a picture prepared.
So we want to do this.
It's really cool. All you gotta do is line up the eyes and the mouth, and then click female with the check.
My, what a large head you have, Ginger.
And what happens is it puts your face into these emoticons. Isn't this amazing?
Do you like it? I like the resemblance.
So It's really cool. We've got the Christmas ones up.
I'm gonna send that emoticon to you.
You can edit the face, which we won't show now, but you can edit your face, your hairstyle.
Oh, that really looks like me.
That is
Choose one.
Yeah, that is me.
You can upload this straight to Facebook or any other social networking services. You can save it to your phone. You can send it via email. So there's a lot of really cool stuff with that application that you can do. And I recommend it because it's free, and why not? You know, it's all about being creative in the first, and not many people had downloaded that, as I noticed.
Okay.
FaceCon, huh?
FaceCon.
He's gonna have fun with it today. Oh, we're gonna get many from Young today on our phone, so not looking forward to that. And the game Larva, show us how that works.
Of course.
I'm sure my daughter would love to download that.
Well, as long as it comes up here. It's a really simple gaming application, and it's really good for young people. And one of the advantages it had was that it's just easy to use, and there's learning opportunities involved as well. So just by simply pulling this up, you can feed them. You need to give them energy. So
sausages.
Kids are able to raise them,
It's like
I guess.
me and you.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things you can do, including changing your characters a little bit. But it's just been a great application for kids, and there's even games like memory games. Only downside is there's a lot of advertisements on there because it is a free game, but it's a very popular game. So you have to go through a lot of those advertisements.
So some educational elements in this game.
Yeah, there's the memory game, which we don't have as much time to show, but there's some educational parts that do teach the kids a little bit.
All right, well, sounds great. The FaceCon. I'm gonna have to
Oh
download
my goodness.
right now.
Why did you do this to us?
I know what I'm doing right after the show.
All right, well,
you
thank you
guys-
so much, Alex.
Thank you, guys.
I look forward to my application. My little
Your
emoticons,
face.
right?
All right, well, that's just about does it for this edition of Korea Today on this Tuesday.
All right, we'll give you a little emoticon right here, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.